So today we're gonna be making this vegan Mongolian beef, which is of course not beef. It's with mushrooms. So these are coated in a soy glaze with some garlic, ginger, and some scallions, and it's perfect with some rice. So I'm gonna start by chopping some scallions or some green onions. But actually, in like Philippine standards, these are actually onion leeks. Scallions are a lot thinner, but in other countries, I know leeks are a lot fatter. So just say scallions or green onions. And for the white part, I actually sliced these into thinner pieces and I set them aside separately so the green and white onions are separate. And we're gonna chop up some ginger and just mince it. You can also just grate it if you'd like, but I just opted to mince mine since I didn't want to use a grater anymore. And we're also gonna peel some garlic cloves here. So you used around 4 cloves and I crushed them first before I peeled them and minced them. You can also just opt like roughly chop your garlic. It's really up to you, but I wanted mine more of like minced, very small pieces. And set this aside as well. And we're gonna go ahead and prepare the rest. So we have here some soy chunks or like soy meat pieces that I soaked overnight in like room temperature water. And we're just gonna drain them since they're fully rehydrated. And we're gonna go ahead and squeeze out each piece to drain out the liquid. If you're in a rush, you can also just prepare the soy chunks with like hot water and just soak it for like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, we have here some mushrooms that I just broke apart into smaller pieces. And same for the soy chunks, I just broke apart the larger chunks into like thinner pieces. If you're using soy curls, then you don't have to do this. So we're gonna go ahead and marinate this. I have some Chinese wine and some soy sauce. And we're just gonna mix this and coat it well. Soy chunks absorb a lot of flavor, so it's good to marinate them as well. So we're gonna go and set this aside while we make the sauce. So this is sugar with some water. We're gonna add in some soy sauce here. So you can adjust the sauce depending on your desired taste and sweetness level. And also we're gonna add in some dark soy sauce. So this will give the dish that nice like caramel glaze, like a dark color. It's optional, but I highly recommend it because it adds a bit of flavor too. And for the soy chunks or the soy meat, I added here some cornstarch. You can also use like potato starch if you like. And this is gonna add that nice coating once we fry the chunks. So you can add a bit more if you feel like the soy chunks are a bit still too wet since they do release a lot of liquid. And just coat it until it's like nice and evenly coated here and just mix it. If it's a bit wet, it's fine. I'm gonna add some oil into a large pan and just leave it to get really hot before we add in the chunks. And it should really like immediately sizzle once we add it, just so the chunks don't absorb the oil and they'll get like nice and crispy on the outside. So we're gonna fry the chunks until they're golden brown and crisp. And they might stick due to the starch when they stick to each other, so that's fine. You can like carefully separate them. And we're gonna fry this for a few minutes until they're golden brown and crisp. So you want them really nice and crispy. And remove them from the oil before you turn off the heat. So make sure you remove all the pieces before you turn off the heat of the pan, because any like temperature change might cause the pieces to absorb the oil. And there you have the fried soy chunks or like the beef for this recipe. And for the oil, I like to store it in this container. I do reuse my oil like 1 to 2 more times. And I have this like container with a strainer that is super handy to have in the kitchen. And in the same pan, we're gonna just pan fry the mushrooms. I use like oyster mushrooms because I like their meatiness, but you can also use like shiitake mushrooms or like other types of mushrooms. And I cook the mushrooms down so they can release a bit of their liquid. And once they're lightly brown, I'm gonna basically just move them to the side of the pan, add a bit more oil, and we're gonna fry the white part of the scallions or the green onions since these are tougher parts. And we're gonna cook this for a few minutes. And basically, we're gonna also add in the ginger and the garlic here. So you can add a bit more oil just so it doesn't stick to the pan. And just stir fry this for a few minutes until it's nice and aromatic. And there you have the scallions and the mushrooms. And afterwards, I'm gonna go ahead and pour in the sauce that we made earlier. So this is like a sweet soy sauce. And it's gonna basically boil up. And we're gonna add in the chunks and mix it nice and well into the sauce so it coats beautifully and the chunks absorb the flavors before you add in the rest of the green onions. So these are the green parts of the green onions. And just mix that. And I forgot to video this part, but basically I added in a cornstarch slurry. So it's cornstarch with water that will help thicken the sauce and turn it into a glaze so it beautifully coats the Mongolian beef here. So there's the finished dish and we're just gonna plate it here. And we're done, so you can go ahead and enjoy this with some rice for like a really hearty meal. But basically this is it, and it's so good, really satisfying, and reminds me of like those from PF Chang's or like other Chinese takeout. And yeah, you can find a full recipe of this link down below or on my website. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy. I will see you in my next video.